Welcome back to the afternoon session of EdTech Korea Forum 2022, which is held under the theme of Into the Next Phase of Education through Digital Platforms. So once again, thank you very much for joining us in this afternoon session. I'm here alone in the studio. Of course, I do have the on-site presenters, but Lucky, Yusujin, Hawaii, and other participants keep sending us encouraging messages, so it really feels like that you are in the room with me at the same time. We have 3 presentations this afternoon, and I hope that you will continue to provide your active support until the end of today's program. The theme of the first session of this afternoon is Navigating Change, the Role of Teachers in Leading Digital Education. Amid all the changes in education happening right now, we are also seeing evolution in pedagogy with increasing demand for new learning and requirement for new skills and capabilities. Teachers used to just deliver information in classrooms, but now teachers are expected to transform the information to knowledge and furthermore to enable students to tap into it when necessary. This session is the opportunity to initiate discussions among teachers who are joining us on the topics around the future of education in this regard. I would like to introduce to you the speakers of this session. The first speaker is Mr. Joseph South, the Chief Learning Officer from the International Society for Technology in Education. He will join us on Zoom real time. And the second speaker is Professor Jiyeon Lee from Inha University. Last but not least, we also have teacher Mira Jeong from Kyunggi Byungjum High School. So thank you very much for joining us. So let us begin the first presentation. So the speaker is Mr. Joseph South, Chief Learning Officer from the International Society for Technology in Education. He's going to talk about the topic, which is the reimagining the roles of teachers and strengthening digital competencies. And he's going to talk about the programs that can be used or that is being used to train teachers in universities. He is an international educational technology leader focused on evidence-based learning transformation. He is currently working as the Chief Learning Officer at ISTE. He formerly served as the Director of the Office of Educational Technology at the U.S. Department of Education, and in this role, he advised the Secretary of Education and developed national educational technology policy. He also formed public-private partnerships to assist state and local education leaders in transitioning to digital learning. Now I'd like to ask Mr. South to present his talk after this video.
Hello, everyone. I'm really excited to be here with you today. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this wonderful experience. I'm looking forward to sharing some thoughts with you about the future of preparing teachers for the new roles that are required of them in the modern age. So I just want to mention that I work for ISTE, which is an international NGO, and we help teachers and governments all around the world reimagine learning with technology in transformative ways that are focused on active learning. We are all facing a new reality for K-12. The changes that happened during the pandemic are the greatest changes that we are likely to see in education and technology in our generation. And it's almost impossible to overstate the incredible amount of difference that there is between how schools are using technology now than when they were before. To just give you some sense of how big of a change these are, if you look in the US, the number of devices, that is the number of students using one-to-one devices in the US, increased 80% between 2019 and 2020. That's an incredible amount of growth. And if you look worldwide, we shipped over 55 million new devices around the world in 2021. So the growth was absolutely unprecedented. So the good news is there's many, many more students and teachers who have access to devices. The bad news is we're not necessarily using them in the most effective ways. For example, we have a belief that if a teacher is fluent in using technology in their personal life, that means they can teach with it. This is absolutely not the case. I have a friend who is a teacher, and she says that the new teachers, when they join the staff, are always asked by the teachers who've been teaching for 20 or 30 years to help them with their technology. And the new teachers don't know why they're being asked this. Just because they know how to make a TikTok video does not mean they know how to manage 30 children on a video call, or use tools effectively to help kids learn how to code or how to develop a presentation. So this belief that if you're fluent in using technology, you know how to teach with technology is a false belief, and we have to reject it. We've also been asking the wrong question. For far too long, we have been asking, how do we put school on a computer? If you ask the wrong question, you are bound to get the wrong answer. When you ask the question this way, then it leads you to what I describe as a copy and paste mentality. If we think, oh, I need to take school and put it on a computer, then you just take your face-to-face class and you put all the kids online and you talk to them, which absolutely just puts the kids asleep. It doesn't actually help them learn. Or for example, during the pandemic, so many people were focused on making sure the students didn't cheat because they were trying to isolate the students while they took a test, instead of realizing that because all the students are online, they could actually collaborate to take tests. And maybe we should change the assessment so that they were more appropriate for the new technology, rather than expecting the students to do things in a way that did not make sense with the technology that they had. When we have a copy and paste mentality, what we're really doing is we're taking something very advanced and very new, like an airplane, but we're just driving it down the same highway that we've been driving our cars down. This is not a good idea. It's actually very dangerous, and it doesn't help us get where we want to go. So we need to ask different questions. So the question that we should be asking is, how do we reimagine the role of teachers and strengthen their digital competencies? If you ask this question, then instead of driving your airplane down the highway, you actually get in your airplane and fly it. Now you can take students and teachers to new places. You can do things with them that have never been done before. You can transform what it means to travel because you are asking the right questions. We have talked to school leaders all around the world, and we have found that they have several things in common in what they need from teachers. Number one, they need teachers to know how to apply the principles of learning science to digital environments. It's not enough for them to take what they know in a face-to-face environment and transfer it. They need to really understand what learning science has discovered about the most effective ways to use a digital learning environment. They also need to use technology beyond just academics. When we use technology effectively as a communication tool, we actually expand the learning community around the learner. So rather than it just being a student and a teacher, we now have a student, a teacher, their family, mentors from the community. We can connect them to universities, we can connect them to museums, and we can connect them to each other. And so technology needs to be used expansively to expand all those around the learner, helping them learn. We also need to use technology in ways other than presenting content. If you think about it, presenting content is the least exciting way to use technology. There are so many more interesting ways we can use technology to connect students to each other, to help them learn, to help them grow, to help them create. Last, we need to use technology to support the professional learning and growth of the teachers themselves. When we think more expansively, what we realize is that we need educators to take on new digital competencies. The ISTE standards define those digital competencies. For example, if you look at these ISTE standards, you'll see that we need to think about a teacher as a digital leader, as a digital citizen, as a digital collaborator, a designer, a facilitator, an analyst, and a learner. When we approach teachers in this way, then rather than asking them to take a test and put it online, we're asking them a different question. How do you design assessment to be effective online? Rather than asking them to take the lecture that they've been doing and present it online, we ask them a different question. How do you facilitate a group of students who are remote, who have access to all the information on the internet in addition to what you have to offer them? This allows us to expand how a teacher pictures themselves, what they think they're capable of, and the different skills and abilities and competencies that they bring to teaching. But we have to start this before they arrive in the classroom. If all we do is send new teachers to the classroom who are unprepared to teach with digital technology, then we are putting the burden on the schools to train those teachers, and they're starting behind from the very first day. This should not be the requirement of a school. We need to build the foundation for those teachers in proper digital pedagogy before they ever get to the school. This has to happen in teacher preparation programs. ISTE has been working with an international group of collaborators on the Digital Equity and Transformation Pledge. This is a pledge that teacher preparation programs can take. That is, normal schools around the world can take to fundamentally transform how they bring digital pedagogy into their teacher preparation programs. It has 5 key principles. The first one, of course, is helping teachers thrive in digital environments. The second one is focused on how you can help teachers use technology to learn from other teachers and learn from other mentors. The third one is focusing on applying international frameworks that are evidence-based, such as the ISTE standards, to bring to their teaching. The fourth one is to help all faculty continuously improve their expertise for teaching and learning with technology. This is not something that one faculty member should be tasked with, who is the techie faculty member. Every faculty member at the university who prepares teachers should become an expert in using digital technology to teach the area of focus that they have. Last, we need to collaborate with school leaders to identify how they have shared digital competencies. If we don't match what we're doing in the teacher preparation program to the digital profile of the school where the teachers are going to go teach, then we have a huge disconnect. So we really need to create partnerships that cross over between the teacher preparation program and the school so that they're on the same page. The second thing we have to do is upskill teachers after they're already teaching. This has to be done in a very systematic way that focuses on digital competencies. It can't just be a lecture to them. We can't just be using the old ways of teaching to teach teachers. We need to use the new ways, the more effective ways of teaching to teach teachers. One of the things that ISTE provides is an ISTE Certified Educator program. In this program, there is an online interactive course that's focused on building a community around the teacher. And after they work through the course with mentors and experts, then they have to submit a portfolio of actual artifacts from the classroom. They actually have to go to their classroom, apply the principles, document what they did, and upload those to the web where they can be evaluated. In this way, we actually help the teachers close the loop between what they're learning and what they're applying in the classroom. These are the kinds of models that will fundamentally transform how teachers teach. If we do this right, then teachers will move from using technology as a passive medium to an active medium. So by passive, what I mean is if you're only using technology as a place where students listen or read or watch, that's very passive. They're just sitting still. What we need to do is use technology to help students activate. We need to allow them to make global connections around the world, to interact with experts outside of their school, to design new things, to produce new media, podcasts and presentations and videos, to learn how to code and develop computational thinking. There are so many things we can do with technology where the student is in the driver's seat. The student is the person who is using the technology to create, not just to listen. Because of that, in addition to new competencies for teachers, we need also new competencies for the students. The students need to see themselves as digital citizens. They need to see themselves as innovative designers. We cannot only focus on reading and math and science. We have to focus on helping students become effective digital citizens who know how to navigate these environments, who know how to create inclusive learning spaces, who know how to reach across boundaries, and who know how to communicate with these new mediums and tools. When we do this correctly, it becomes very, very powerful. I was in a school recently where students as young as 5 years old were working together to create a storyboard for a video. One of the students was the director of the video, another of the students was the cameraman, and another student was the on-stage announcer. And they worked through this script and had a very sophisticated media production that's not that different from the media production of this international conference. The students were 5 years old. Their mentors were students who were 8 years old. They were actually teaching them how to use the technology. This is the kind of transformation we can see in our classrooms when we increase student autonomy, when we focus on helping them take the lead. So the question that I hope we will start asking when we think about the role of teachers is how can we prepare teachers to be co-learners, to co-curate and co-create alongside their students. When you are in an atmosphere when there's more information outside of the classroom than there is inside of the classroom, we have to think about teachers in a completely new way. They need to be in a role where they work side by side to learn with students. Rather than creating the content, they need to curate the content to help find the best content with their students. And rather than creating all of the lessons and all of the material, they need to help students learn to co-create with them. When we start to see teachers as working side by side with students to learn together, then we can take full advantage of the transformative opportunities that these digital environments provide. Thank you so much for allowing me to share these thoughts with you, and I look forward to hearing some questions at the end of this part of the presentation.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. South. So that was the first presentation of the first session of this afternoon. And I was able to see a lot of expectations for the afternoon presentations. So it is really important to improve the digital capabilities of our teachers. So now let us move on to the second presentation.
And Professor Joseph will join us for the Q&A session shortly after two presenters finish their presentation. Now let's move on to the second presenter. Second presentation will be delivered by Jiyeon, Professor of the Department of Education at Inha University. So under the theme of the 4 competencies for tomorrow's teacher, PACA, Professor Lee will introduce PACA model, an alternative teaching and learning paradigm to respond to transition toward intelligent informatization, and share cases of applying PACA in class along with strategies and future challenges. Dr. Lee earned her PhD from Indiana University, Bloomington in 2022. And he's a professor of Department of Education of Inha University. So she's a teacher, educator, and educational technology researcher, and she specializes in the design and assessment of technology-enhanced competencies-based instruction. And she's also actively engaged in international cooperation and exchange endeavors. Hello, I am Jiyeon Lee, professor at Inha University. Today I would like to talk about the competencies for tomorrow's teachers, or PACA. So, as it was introduced by the moderator, I studied at South Carolina and I finished the educational engineering. And I conducted classes in the remote area in North Carolina, and after coming back to school as an education engineer, I was involved in linking the technology with the education. And teachers have a very important mission to support their students by taking advantage of the benefits of technology. And in the uncertain society where we are faced with the societal change, I'm sure that we are putting a lot of thinking into improving students' capabilities. And have been involved in training the future teachers. And I would like to share with you my thoughts while being involved in this work in my today's presentation. So as you can see here, you can see with the rapid technology advancement, whenever the technology is consumed, that is translated into economic growth and societal growth. And in that process, there are some relationships that we need to take note of. So if you look here, the education and the technology, they start at the same starting point, but you can see that through societal and the technology change, whenever there's a new technology that is introduced, there is a high demand for the skilled labor. And if that skilled labor is not provided, then there can cause employment insecurity and the income gap. And with the Industry 4.0 approaching us, in a lot of jobs like robotics, other AI or Industry 4.0 related jobs, we can see a huge surge in the demand. So this is the part. I've just magnified this part. So if we fail to enhance the capability of the students in these skills, then the technology will outpace us. And if we are not able to cope with this change, then there will continuously be a social issue like unemployment and instability, and this will be suffering for the society. So in today's or current education curriculum, we need to stop repeating the same old education curriculum. And if we just pursue change gradually, then we won't be able to incorporate the changes taking place with the rapid technology. And if we fail like this, then we won't be able to foster the talent so that they are equipped with the right skill to deal with the future changes. So I put here transformative changes. So we need to, this is a transformational change, and not just the teacher, but we need to, the teachers needs to foster or cultivate this kind of skills and students. So that's what I would like to talk about today. So I've been talking about capability, and when we talk about the skills that students should be equipped with, they are living in the times of uncertainties, and we are experiencing or seeing the patterns that we have not seen before. Then they utilize knowledge or technologies and past experiences to solve the problem. So the students need to have this kind of skills, but because it's a future that we have not encountered before, across all OECD countries, teachers got together, and as of 2015, and as we forecast toward 2030, we had a lot of international research conducted concerning future capability. The first thing shows identifying the capability that future learners should be equipped with. First, in order to live a successful life, and what kind of capability the student need to have by 2030. So for this issue, there were a lot of studies that were introduced. So let me summarize a few of the important study findings and share it with you. So in OECD and UNESCO, we looked at the 21st century technology or world economy, World Economic Forum. So we looked at some of the newly emerging jobs by 2030 and what skills are required by those new occupations. And one thing that was interesting was when we talk about the special skills related to the job, we always emphasize the expertise. But what is being stressed in 2030 is not just knowledge, but what they can do with this knowledge. In other words, execution skills. So as this job requirement changes, the school need to cultivate this kind of skills as well. So at schools, the implementation skill is being stressed, not just knowing, but what they can do with that knowledge, so that they can apply it for problem solving in the future. If you look here, from 1960 to 2009, there were studies that were conducted about changes in workplace skills. So I talked about the implementation or execution skills, so it's non-repetitive and service-related skills utilization level is going up. And regarding AI, the job that will be substituted and what job, if you look at the occupation that will not be substituted, for example, like the teaching professionals, like in implementation skills. So these are the ones that cannot be replaced or substituted by AI. So we define the future capability as a first step. And nowadays, we are putting more thinking into then what kind of education should the teacher deliver, what kind of learning environment should we provide to students. So this is included in the second phase. So that we can provide the right environment for the learners by 2030. So we are trying to design the educational environment and the competencies of the teacher So this is a key area of interest in the second phase. As you can see here, so key points for the future education in terms of knowledge. The knowledge and then assessing is breaking away from the conventional method of teaching, but based on the capability, is requiring change in the educational curriculum and assessment. So in preparing the future learners and future teachers, what kind of capability should the teacher be equipped with? So after COVID-19, the teachers' work have improved significantly, and they are now a multitasker, as you can see in the photo here. So at school, after COVID-19 especially, there are so many things like platforms and technology and new teaching methods that teachers should learn. But when we talk about the future education, what kind of direction do we have at the moment? What is the direction that we should head toward? And how can teachers receive training? And how can these technologies that teachers learn in this training be applied to their teaching or their lecture? So a lot of it is based on AI, and we looked at various experiments and attempts through this forum. So in the era of Industry 4.0, many people are saying that digital technology is the answer, and we seem to have a high expectation for this technology. But where are we heading toward this technology, and what problems this technology trying to address? So we need to familiarize ourselves with tools one by one, but rather than doing that, what is the digital literacy of the teachers? How can that be realized to teachers teaching in the classroom? Or is it just regarded as one of another thing that teachers have to learn? So this PACA model, in that respect, is a tool to prepare for uncertain future. So it is a program to train future teachers. So it shows where we need to focus on. So it is not a complete version, but it's a model that's still in progress. PACA stands for P, personalized, and A, authentic for every context, and C stands for conversion across domain, and A, adaptive for all schools. So let me elaborate one by one. So for personalization, so depending on the learner's needs, it is providing a differentiated instruction, and authentic is the subject and the classroom is very limited, but we want to link that to the real world so that the social issues can be addressed and discussed as part of the project in classroom. And the convergent learning across domains, this is an area where many teachers probably are stressed. So through the thematic conversions and through various learning environment and AI-based convergence technology, we are looking at a new format of learning environment teacher will be encountering in the future so that they can have some level of literacy in this area. And adaptive learning is based on technology, so it means it says responsive. So when students make this kind of response, show this kind of response intuitively, teachers will provide dynamic feedback instantly to promote collaboration between teachers and students. I will give you some more detailed example to help your understanding. So this shows a personalized learning. So when we conduct a personalized learning, it is difficult to provide an optimal learning route or one-to-one teaching. So many people probably think like a high-tech system like Alex when you hear the word personalized learning, but assessing the achievement level of the student and conducting assessment is possible through technology, but in the initial stage, the basis of personalized learning was understanding the basic needs of the learners and then offer a tailored approach depending on the learner's learning speed, learning curve. So these are some of the examples of what we are actually applying in our classroom. So one is flip learning. So many teachers are interested in flip learning nowadays, but how can the flip learning be used to achieve what goal? So it is to help the students in different learning curves. So instead of delivering same message to all students, it is about checking the student's level and allocating the time to check that, and then it helps us to respond to the needs or the demands of the individual students. And instead of just giving a fixated homework, we use like a mind map, or students will put their interest or the topics they are interested in the projector. So this can stimulate students' interest. So it is one of the motivating tool. And even if it's not a complicated machine, there is one on the bottom left-hand side shows a pedagogical method of the Korean language learning materials. So area that we are paying a lot of attention to at the moment personalized training that we can actually put into use in the educational field. And the authentic learning is linking the learning with the actual world. So it is a problem-based learning. So you can look at the spectrum on the bottom left-hand side. So the best case will be students can go to the world, take the academy, and apply that in the real setting. But if there is not enough time or money, then students will be bringing their project and applying it into classroom settings. So I will give you an example of this. So in PE, this is a PE teaching method class. So in case of PE, there are various kind of lessons. So as you can see at the bottom, we are leveraging technology to receive this kind of benefits for activities performed. And under the COVID pandemic, we are using the Zoom camera. So we have delivered what the teachers are concerned about so that this can be addressed during a Zoom class. And the convergent learning is various subjects, or for going beyond one certain subjects, we are converging various topics, and we are also converging various learning spaces. So we are leveraging various platforms, because what's really important for students to have intensive understanding for various topics and be able to express that and being able to think about that. So the curation terminology is very popular nowadays. It means that they will be learning it, acquiring it, and displaying it in their own space with their own thoughts. So I will just touch upon this briefly. So by utilizing AI technology, we are using an app to record students' activities. So it's a new form of class to newly conduct PE classes. So we have applied this into the PE to further encourage students' participation. And what you see here is, instead of giving a presentation in class, they're delivering presentation in metaverse. And these are various examples of convergent learning in math and music class. And lastly, the adaptive learning is for the students' response. Students can keenly respond to it so that students can continue to engage in class and then enhance productivity through collaboration with peers. So this is a platform-based or system-based technology. So it can be done by using this kind of a technology platform, but often if classroom cannot be equipped with this kind of a high-tech technology, then teacher can use somewhat light tools and then use it to provide appropriate feedback to students. So this is an example of adaptive learning for a mock class. So if we put this kind of slides in the Zoom, the teacher on the right-hand side is he's from Taean, so he gave a feedback to that video. And then students, you can see the students posting comments. So there's interactive class going on. And then we use a Padlet. So whenever we cooperate, do a project, then the middle outcomes are posted in the Padlets, and the teacher checks those works that students upload and provide comments. So it's not just the one simple tool. So after teachers receive this kind of training, teachers will be equipped with the capabilities in these 4 areas, and they will be able to apply their skills in cultivating talents for the future. So lastly, I would like to end by reading this poem, because I think this is aligned with what future education is pursuing. This is from my favorite poet, Nateju, with the title Grass Flower. So pretty with a close look, lovely with the long gaze, and so are you. So I've end my presentation here. Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Lee. So, TRACK-B2. Navigating change, the role of teachers in leading digital education. We have looked at the various strategies to reinforce digital capabilities of teachers. So I'm sure that teachers have a lot of things in their mind as we see various digital technologies in our world nowadays. And I think there are active discussions that are taking place. And now it's time to hear the last presentation.
The last speaker is teacher Jeong Mira from Kyunggi Byungjum High School. She's going to talk about the role and competencies of teachers in the digital era. And of course, digital transformation has caused us to have fear as well as hope. And she is a high school teacher, and she is also an education expert who is paying attention to and is interested in the credit system in the Korean high school curriculum and is striving to research the education system for all the students. She published 5 books of curriculum and lots of research papers. She's also working as a guest speaker in schools and educational offices. So, Teacher Jeong, the floor is yours. Good afternoon. I am Jeong Mira from Kyunggi Byungjum High School. So we listened to really good presentations provided by education experts, which makes me think about what we should do to train qualified teachers for the future generations. And today I'm going to talk about the required capabilities of teachers and what kind of efforts we have to make in order to nurture and provide those skills to our teachers. I'm not an IT teacher and I'm an English teacher. So I teach English and I'm invited as a speaker for this forum. I wondered why I was invited, but thinking about the reasons, I started to feel some level of appreciation because this is an issue that will also require a lot of attention from the experts and professionals working in the field. And of course, there are many teachers who share with us the same concern. In 2019, I learned about Sophia, the AI, and I was able to find this video online, and I was really surprised to see this natural conversation taking place between a human being with AI Sophia. We don't have a lot of opportunities among Korean students to practice their English, but if we can have something like Sophia, maybe we can bring about a lot of changes in how we teach and learn English. But sometimes I fear that it may take away my job as an English teacher. So AIs, and also there are other educational technologies, and maybe it is time for us to think about the role of teachers in our classrooms. If you look at the national curriculum, there are some courses like AI mathematics and basics of AI. We already have textbooks developed, and also the regional office of education are also developing some relevant courses. So AI is already part of our school curriculum. At the same time, in school curriculum, AI convergence courses are now being provided. There are 34 high schools in Korea that provide AI conversion courses to students. So AI is now part of the school curriculum. At the same time, this year in Seoul, AI specialized high school opened. So we are seeing all this advancement and application of AI in Korean schools. And many students have a lot of worries about what's going to happen. Of course, there are some programs tailored to the needs of the school teachers, but sometimes we feel that we are not really fully embracing the changes that are happening in Korea. Students in high schools are asked to solve a lot of problems based on textbooks. But if you take a look at this school curriculum of a high school, based on the existing vocational high schools, you see that there's an increasing number of courses that teach students AI-related subjects. Moreover, Office of Educations in municipalities are working with EdTech companies. And they are thinking about what kind of technology should be adopted in classrooms, in what way. Maybe it's a high time for us to look at the possibilities of the technologies in educational context. We should be fully prepared. Only then we'll be able to fully utilize the full potential of AI-based technologies. Of course, we should not just assume that AI can solve all the problems. Rather, we can think about how we can apply AI in solving various social problems. Now I'd like to talk about teachers. So AIs are going to be in our classroom. Of course, we have human teachers, and we also have human AI teachers in the classroom. Does that mean that we're going to give away or give up our role as teachers? Rather, we should be able to utilize AI technologies in our classrooms along with the human teachers. We have to think about the identity of human teachers. We have to establish in full the identity of human teachers first. Then what is AI in classrooms? Basically, of course, AIs were invented by human beings, and of course, we use AIs developed by human beings. So what's the purpose of using AI? Of course, it is for the humanity and for people. And we should be also able to use AI technology for students so that they can grow into responsible citizens of our society who will also be able to help others in our society. I would like to now share with you some of the thoughts that teachers have on AI, and this is based on the study conducted by KERIS in 2021. When it comes to using AI technologies or other education-related technologies, there are some or a lot of obstacles. Maybe you have your own difficulties and challenges using education-related technologies. A lot of people feel that they are not equipped to use edu technologies, and some people say that infrastructure is not sufficient. There are only a few number of schools who are leading the usage of education-related technologies, and some also points out that there is no standardized way of using such technologies. So we do have many obstacles in utilizing education-related technologies. So amid all the difficulties, we'd like to also understand how teachers are using these new technologies. So according to the survey, a lot of people think that we are in the earlier stages. Of course, images and videos and contents can be utilized during classrooms, and they can also use digital technologies for communicating with others. So education-related technologies are being widely used and adopted in Korean schools. In Korea, we have a lot of online classes taking place. And because of the pandemic, teachers had to learn how to organize and utilize online technologies so as to provide classes online. And of course, we need to have and develop solutions to address those challenges cited by teachers. We need quality contents for our classrooms. It seems like the technology and classrooms are still separate. We should have the true convergence between technologies and classrooms to be able to deliver education and learning that will be really conducive to nurturing our future citizens. Of course, we have to establish clear identity of human teachers, but at the same time, we also need the assistance of edu-technicians who can provide assistance to teachers in the usage of edu-tech. We also need to have infrastructure. There are some schools without ICT labs or computer labs. Through Green Smart Education, nationwide, we are in the process of establishing digital infrastructure, but still we have a long way to go. At the same time, we need quality contents. And still in Korea, when establishment of infrastructure is being carried out, a lot of teachers are directly involved, and the process itself can be quite complicated. And it is not the teacher's job to purchase computers and have online connections. They should be supported by somebody else. EdTech can be considered a teaching tool, but also it can be considered as teaching content. It could also provide teaching support, and it could also facilitate students' learning. Then, now that we are using this digital technology in our classrooms, we need to understand the influence and impact of digital technologies being used in classrooms. With all those digital technologies available, we can improve the speed of learning. Before, you had to go to a library to obtain new information, but rather you can ask a question using your voice only to an AI assistant, then it will give you the answer right away. We had to go through many steps to obtain some pieces of information, but you have instant access to information these days. That also means that students' ability to have critical thinking is being reduced. Now learning is possible anytime, anywhere. And under the circumstances, of course, it is good to be able to learn something anytime, anywhere. And this also means that the possibilities of individual learning have expanded. And that can have negative impacts on mental and physical health of students. So these are some of the pros and cons of EdTech. And then will be the role of teachers in the digital era. We should be able to help our students access information quickly, and we have to strengthen our traditional learning such as reading and debating. For students to be able to learn things anytime and anywhere, students require continuous facilitation and monitoring. And if there are some health-related issues or other challenges that students have, it is really important to have the teacher's assistance. So what we are doing is not just training. What we are doing and what we are trying to improve is education, because education is something that includes or embraces philosophy. Even in the 21st century, the basic learning and innovation skills remain the same. Of course, we have to nurture professionalism of teachers. Now, I'd like to link EdTech with teacher professionalism. Do you think teachers can learn themselves, or teachers are somebody who also need assistance in learning something? If we can use education technology, we can probably also improve the concept of EdTech, which is providing technology for teachers, of the teachers and by the teachers. There are 6 different teacher professional developments that should be pursued during the digital era. We need to create teacher networks at a school level, a regional level, and also the national level. They can share devices, and they can also share their know-how with other students if we have teacher networks. Of course, we have different terminologies to refer to the same or the teacher networks, like teacher groups and teacher study groups. But again, having this type of teacher network is really important. And we need to also strengthen in-service teacher training. And we provide cookie-cutter type of training for all teachers. But what we need to provide is customized training for different needs of teachers. And we also need to develop refresher courses. And to do so, we need to have cooperation with teacher networks. In schools, Unfortunately, we don't have many EdTech experts.
그렇다면 모르는 에듀테크를 모르는 사람들이 에듀테크 교육 환경을 만들고 교육을 할 수는 없잖아요.
So, and it is impossible for people without EdTech knowledge to establish EdTech or to make available EdTech in schools. So we need the support from school digital technicians. They're the ones who will be present in school, and they assist teachers, and they also manage EdTech system and devices, and they also guide teachers on new education technologies. Right now, we don't have many digital centers in Korean schools. We need to establish digital centers that are easy to access. Of course, teachers can collaborate in digital centers to learn and improve their knowledge. This is a place where people can be introduced to new technologies, and they can be also connected to EdTech experts, and they should be able to access teacher training courses. So we have expert teachers that are required in our classrooms, and we really need this role in schools. So it is not a technician teaching teachers, rather it is developing expert teachers so that this teacher can help other teachers. Here,
전문가 선생님에 있어서는 그 학습 자료도 개발하고 또
this
선생님들에게
expert teacher can
여러 가지
develop teaching materials
콘텐츠라든지
and
아니면은 여러 가지
can
기술들을
help
소개하고
other
그리고
teachers to
나서
develop
또
educational
이러한
contents,
전체적인
and can also introduce new technologies to other teachers.
해줘야 된다. 자, 시대가 계속 바뀌어요.
A lot of things are changing nowadays. What's interesting here is that the role of the teacher or the work that teachers has to do does not decrease. So we often talk about the necessity of introducing EdTech, but a lot of us in the field question the need. Teachers should receive sufficient amount of time and budget to be able to develop their professional skills. Teachers don't have a lot of time, and we are under budgeted, and unfortunately teachers do not have good opportunities to upskill. So we hope to see more support from the government. Only then we'll be able to implement AI-related training for students. So I talked about teachers training today. There's also other things that we need to think about. There is a digital education gap, and this gap can lead to social and economic gaps when students grow up. There are families and households with easy access to digital education, and there are others who don't have such access. So EdTech should be utilized in order to narrow this digital education gap so that we can provide education for all. And digital education is not something to put our children in front of computers, and we assume that digital education or having computers for our children is sufficient. And also we worry that people or students will just play games when they have computers. We also need changes in our perception, and only when we can utilize digital technologies for the betterment of our education system and to better teach our students, we'll be able to also change our perception on digital education. This is from a Japanese manga. The main protagonist, Atom, is considered a good person, but if we do not use technologies properly, this virtuous robot can turn into a very hostile Terminator.
제가 말씀드린 것은 이것은 시민 교육 안에서 같이 묶어서
The
통합해서
type of
나아가야 되지
training
않을까
that I
싶습니다.
talked about
새로운
should
것을
be part
추가하기보다는
of the
기존의
new
아이들의
digital
시민
citizenship program.
역량을
Instead of
구축해줄 수
creating
있는
new
교육으로
programs,
앞으로
we need to
에듀테크가
tailor
확산되는
education
그러한 대한민국의 아름다운 교육을
that utilize
생각하며
technology so that we
이만
can
발표를 마치도록
nurture
하겠습니다.
responsible
감사합니다.
digital citizens for the future. With that, I'll finish my presentation. Thank you very much. So I too have high expectations for the further improvement of technology-based education in Korea. So we have two presenters who are on site in the studio with me, and they are teachers and they were able to provide a lot of insightful information on what's really happening in our classrooms and what should be done. So we listened to a lot of provoking and insightful presentations. We have about only 10 to 11 minutes for our Q&A session, and we'll make sure that we collect all the opinions that you provided in the chat box so that this can be reflected in what we want to do and what we have to do going forward.
Feeling the need to reinforce skills, digital skills for the teachers. So the quality of the education cannot exceed the quality of educators. That really came to my mind. And it has become essential to expand the capability or competencies of teachers. And the person mentioned the need for the training, but he also mentioned at the same time that he lacks time to participate in the training. And because of the reduction in the declining number of students, there are teachers that are waiting to be waiting to teach students, even though she or he has passed the exam. So we will address questions one by one. Joseph is with us. So can you hear us, Joseph? So I will ask you a question. Jack has asked a question in English.
So here is the question. Ms. South, you mentioned 5 elements of digital equality and transformation, but it seems very difficult to realize them with the power of teachers alone. Could you tell the Korean education government and officials what they need to do to make it happen?
Thank you. That is such an excellent question. There is no possible way that we can make this change alone. The steps that leaders and policymakers can make, number one, is they can create incentives for both teacher preparation programs and for teachers already teaching in school to upskill. So for teacher preparation programs, they could make this part of the accreditation of those programs in order for them to be approved as a legitimate program by the government. They have to show a certain level of digital pedagogy competency in their graduates. So that's one policy approach that the government can take to support the teachers. For in-service teachers, this can become a part of that teacher's career path. As they show competency in digital pedagogy, they can either get an increase in their pay to reflect this additional expertise, or it can help qualify them for promotion as they grow in their professional path.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer. 네, 좋은 답변이 되셨기를 바라겠습니다. 쟁님, 질문 감사합니다.
So thank you very much for your question and answer.
I have a question to Professor Lee. You explained to us about PACA. Question that came in was in school education, in order to implement PACA at schools, as in terms of educational policy or in the educational field, what kind of support is needed? Thank you for your insightful question. While introducing you the PACA model, I tried to emphasize the point that for each of the elements, we have a spectrum. So regarding future education, there are elements. So we need like high-tech infrastructure or software or technology. So these have to be utilized to realize, implement PACA, but there are barriers here, of course, in terms of leadership and investment for the infrastructure and technology is needed. But when all of these are rightly built in place, it can maximize its potential. Starting from 1960s, there were a lot of study done on personalized learning, but we now have a better infrastructure to better implement it. But I'm not saying that it cannot be implemented without this technology infrastructure. So I don't want us to end with the cookie cutting approach like model or technology, because there can be some adaptive approach even when we apply this PACA. So in that regard, I think we need the support, the right policy support. Many people found Professor Lee's presentation very helpful. Next, to Ms. Jeong.
A question from Jack. Also, I agree with what you said because I'm also a high school English teacher. So you were interested in the credit system. Do you think there is any impact of credit system on the digital education in Korea? The high school credit system is related to allowing students to choose their elective courses according to their interest. In Korea, we mainly focus on academic learning, so centering around Korean language, English language, and mathematics. And it does not give a lot of opportunities for students to access and experiment with digital technologies. In advancing to college, such type of education was not really required. But now, this type of digital capabilities are really important for students' college entrance. Of course, we can have different areas of edu technologies that students can have a lot of interest in. I hope that there will be some opportunities open to our students so that they can learn different aspects of digital technologies, and that will be really useful for our children to think about what they want to do when they grow up. So there was a really passionate presentation, and that was one comment raised by one of the participants. So I'd like to share with you some of the comments that we received. Of course, there are some would-be teachers, and there are also teachers in schools, and I hope that there will be a lot of support available for enhancing their digital capabilities. So there were a lot of positive comments about this session's presentations, and one said that all those opinions gathered here together will be reflected for our future education. This is another question. I'd like to ask any of you to answer. From a student point of view, in order to help them to become a person who can really execute things, what kind of training or education do we have to provide? So in their own daily life, if they want to nurture a kid into a person who takes agency and takes initiatives, maybe Mr. South, do you have an answer to this question? What kind of training do we have to provide to our students?
So it's an excellent question. If students are going to take this initiative, then one of the most important things we can do is focus on helping them develop expertise and not just knowledge acquisition. Knowledge acquisition is more narrow, and it is more focused on helping them learn abstract things, maybe algebra or grammar. But when a student learns expertise, then they become competent in a broader set of activities, of knowledge, of ways of thinking about the world. So a student who becomes an expert in digital creation is able to expand their capacity to be independent, to make decisions, to collaborate with others. A student who can become an expert in game design or in creating perhaps a play or digital artwork, once again, is able to learn from a mentor and to engage in digital technologies in ways that they'll be asked to use them for the rest of their life and their profession. So a really important shift we can make in schools is to focus less on abstract knowledge acquisition and instead embed that knowledge acquisition in a more broader approach to helping students gain expertise and competencies in broader areas that put them in the driver's seat. So instead of them watching the screen, they're actually creating what happens on the screen.
Okay, thank you very much for your insightful answer. 혹시 더
I know we don't have much time left, but can I ask one more? So it'd be good if students think centered on themselves, what they want to do and what they want to know more, the questions that they have. So the future capability is all about what kind of life that you want to live in the future. So you need to place you at the center. So when we talk about like experts, so even though you may not be an expert, you can think of and vision yourself in the future and put yourself there. So I think we need to provide the education to realize that in the classroom. So I think Professor Joseph also said instead of just knowledge acquisition, we need to go beyond knowledge acquisition and do a self-directed learning. So the students have to find the area that they are interested in and continue to build on that skill, and that is one of the role, and that has to do with the teacher's role as a facilitator. So I think we heard a lot of comments about training, teacher training. So I think we need to think more and develop a lot of training for teacher because there is a big gap in the teacher skills. So that was a comment that was posted in the Facebook for the presentation made by Ms. Jeong. Because of EdTech, I think when technology is introduced in the field of education, one thing that we should not forget is humans. So I think the strength of human is the skills to empathize. So we are social animals, so we are social beings. So I think we need to provide a lot of opportunities in our education field to build empathy skills within our students. Thank you very much. So education quality cannot exceed the competencies of teachers, and what humans can do best is empathy or empathizing. So with that said, I will have to end the second session held under the theme of Navigate Change, the role of teachers in leading digital education. Thank you very much.